Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. Tonight, as always, I'm joined by Mr. Blake Duckworth, my co-host, and our special guest tonight is Mr. Zuse Platt from Northern Slope Bigfoot in Colorado. Zeus has found some very good evidence that he's going to bring on tonight and would show everyone and let Zeus explain where he found this evidence at out there. Blake, you want to go ahead and open the show, bud?
I hope everyone's doing well. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, like, and comment. And thank you guys so much for your support. Still slowly growing. That's all, Ricky.
All right, guys. I just want to thank everybody in advance tonight that's going to be watching us tonight, and those that watch it later. Hope you enjoy the show. Bring Zeus on.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Well, pretty good. Glad to be back on the show.
Doing all right,
this is Mr.
Doing good.
This is Mr. Zeus Platt with Western Slope Bigfoot. If y'all not checked his channel out, go on and do so. He's got a lot of good evidence on there. I think y'all really find interesting. Zeus, how you been going? How's it been going with you out there, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. Thank God the weather's been decent. There was a couple of days it was hitting 86 degrees, and that's burning hot here. But it's been getting pretty good temperature, and I've been trying to get out there in the boots on the ground more, and I just need to find them. Right now I'm in the middle of studying some new areas that I'm actually going to hit, and I just made a video the other day, and that's kind of the same day I found the hair, and I didn't intend on doing it, but I found a little bit of evidence. But I got a few areas that I'm kind of studying. I will revisit, which I do, a lot of the areas that I go in and find evidence, because you just kind of want to keep going back, every couple of weeks to even a month. You don't want to hit the same area every single week or every couple of days, because you just probably won't find much. That kind of scares them off, I think. But I've got some pretty good areas. I think I'll be having some pretty good evidence in here coming up pretty quick. And, I got a new camcorder, a 4K camcorder. I got some donations in and went out and bought that right away. So I have some crystal clear video. I've been having crystal clear video coming out, so that really helps as far as seeing the stuff staring at you in the bushes, and even if you catch one running by, which I have a couple of times, but you be able to produce some good video. But I'm pretty excited to get out at these new areas. They're hot spots. That a lot of sightings in these areas. Well, there's sightings all over, but these are good sightings that people have reported even this year. And I have yet to go investigate the dogman sighting down south of me a little bit there. I got to figure out how I can get back in there, but I got some good stuff coming up. I usually find really good evidence. I do pretty good at figuring these guys out and their tactics, where they sit, how they move. I've been doing pretty good at it, and I think that's how I found the one I did, I don't know, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. You'll have a picture of it later or so. And I have a pretty good tendency of actually running into these guys, so I'm pretty excited. I'll be getting boots on the ground here a little bit more, probably after the July 4th or so, after I celebrate my birthday, which is on July 3rd. And
well, congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Happy early birthday.
I got an early birthday gift today, a 357 mag, and I was super excited about that. I got a little bit of protection, and people misunderstand me when I say I need protection when I go out into the woods.
Well, it's mainly from other things. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's not Sasquatch.
Yeah.
No, not for them. You're talking about the lions and the bears and those damn moose. They're so aggressive, and I've been my life has been threatened many, many times. It's very threatening going out there. And besides
Well,
that,
you have grizzlies in your area, don't you?
well, there's been some reported sightings just north of me, no more than 30, 40 miles. It's up at the Storm Mountain area, and I've been told by some of the older locals around here that's been here for a lot longer than I have. They said just be careful going out there. There's been a lot of grizzly sightings up in that area. So
yeah.
I got a 357 bear spray now. I don't want to use it though. I don't want to.
What kind of camera did you get?
It's a Sony AX53.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a lot of research. It cost me about $1,200. I did a lot of research on cameras, and the 43, the AX43, and
so
the
you got the actual camcorder, not like a mirrorless camera or anything like that.
No.
It has infrared and everything.
Yeah. So I did a lot of research. The 43, the AX43, is the newer version, but it doesn't have the eye scope on it. You pop the eye scope and look through the eye. The 43 doesn't have that. They're basically exactly the same, but the 53, apparently what I've been researching, has a bit better stabilization and a bit better imagery as far as video goes. But they're pretty much.
I've been looking at those Sonys as well because Panasonic and Panasonic has a really good one as well around the same price range. But I know, like they say, the Panasonic has a little bit better stabilization.
Yeah.
But far as the actual night shot of the Sony, it's supposed to be better. Because I'm in the same boat as you. I've been looking at all these cameras trying to figure out what we need. That's the reason I was asking.
If, in my opinion, I mean, just having the AX53, the Sony, that thing has incredible video. It's crystal clear. Yeah. I did read about the Panasonic one, but the AX53 kept coming up in every review on YouTube, online. AX53, best camcorder, and has been for.
And it's one of those things. You start doing research, you confuse yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, dude, you can ask Ricky. I mean, I've looked at everything, just trying to figure out. Like, as soon as I make a decision of something I want, like something about it I don't like. I mean, so my main thing is finding something that has really good night shot. Like that's even a lot of these cameras that have infrared and night vision, like they're still like they're good, but not what I want. I want something that you can see everything pretty much. I mean, I
did experiment with the night shot on the 53. It does get out there ways. It doesn't really illuminate a huge area.
You can get another IR lot for it that will help that a lot.
I'm going to get one of those infrared lights that snap right onto the top.
Yeah.
And that plugs into
That'll help a lot.
And you click that sucker on, and it'll light that whole valley up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. And a FLIR. My next goal is to get a FLIR camera. I bet you, with all the encounters that I have with Sasquatch, where it seems like wherever I go, I think they could read people on how your intentions and your heart, and they know what you're trying to do. And it just seems like wherever I go, it seems like I get evidence. I get whistles, I get wood knocks, I get footprints, I even see them. And I bet you if I had a FLIR camera and popped one of those suckers out, because they work in the daytime or nighttime, I bet you I could get something moving around out there even better than, with
a video. Yeah.
Yeah, because they stay so hidden.
Yep.
Zuse,
Well, at least with a FLIR, you can see any thermal. I mean, anything that has a heat signature.
Oh, absolutely. They're awesome.
Zuse, I'm going to bring up one of the pics here. I entitled tonight's show, "Do You Really Want to Meet a Sasquatch?" I'm going to bring this pic up, let you explain where you found it at, the area you found it in. And I've got one question before I do. Where you found this pic, were there any storms at that time moved through?
No, we get wind that comes through, and we'll get high wind and everything. But I try to stress to people that the wind doesn't cause that kind of break right there. What the wind around here does, and I've seen it a lot, is it'll pretty much uproot a rotten tree. That's a fresh tree you're looking at right there. And I don't know if you could see kind of the limbs on the bottom section where it's tipped down, they're still green. And that when I come up on that, and there was some X structures down below that, and then right about where I'm standing and took the picture is where there's a footprint directly below me. And it's not a real big print, but it's a print. And
Now, how far up is that break?
oh, that break's probably, I'm gonna say 7.5 feet up, and it's just been violently just
Twisted.
Yeah, it's not just your typical, maybe
Well,
wind or something, and it just cracked over like
That's what I
that.
was about to say. If it's straight line winds or something like that, it's going to be in one direction. It's not going to be a twist.
Well, on top of that too, that was a green, healthy tree, and the wind. I'm sorry, the winds. I mean, you'd have to have a hurricane force wind or tornado force, finger of God, tornado.
Well, yeah, that looks like what a tornado would do.
Yeah, to shred that tree, a fresh pine tree like that, and not a single tree around that looked like that. That's the only one. There's a tree off to my right. That's a wind-blown, probably deadfall tree. It's got a root system sticking up. And that was probably blown down by the wind, which is totally typical when the wind blows these trees over, whack, the whole root system and everything comes up. It's not that often at all that you find a good
one broken half.
Let alone twisted. This thing was like manipulated and just raw power, just twisted. And
that's what I'd like to point out to the people watching the show tonight. This tree shows the immense strength that these animals possess. These animals are way beyond what human capability is. You could take a 400-pound man, and there's no way one of the stoutest people that I know could actually grab that tree and twist it and break it like that. This is amazing. This goes to show the strength that these animals actually possess.
And I want to say that tree is probably 15 to 20 inches round, give or take. So it's not a small tree, as far as that's concerned. And like you said, you could take.
I think anybody that's tried to push over a fresh tree, a green tree of any size, will know how hard it is. I mean,
I've tried pushing. I'm a big guy, and I'm very strong. I've tried pushing over little saplings that were 5 inches round and tried to manipulate like a brake, like they do, just to see how easy it was.
It's not easy.
I couldn't hardly do it. It took everything I had to even remotely try to crack that. And that's just a little sapling, that's big around.
Yep.
Let alone something like that. And then I also want to point out, too, we get a lot of snow up here. That is not snow load. I stress that to people over and over. I know what snow load looks like. That is not snow load. When you get this tree, if it was standing straight up during the wintertime, it don't have enough vegetation to hold that amount of weight worth of snow to even topple it at all. And most of them don't. Most of them don't have that.
It's almost summertime, and it doesn't even have hardly any limbs on it, or anything to it. So there's nothing for it to hold to.
Yeah. And most of the trees around here are kind of like that up at this elevation. They just don't have a lot of
greenery, right?
A lot of limbs that stick out, enough to hold enough snow to allow
it to
that kind of weight to drop it. Even the smaller saplings, they don't They, and I find these smaller saplings even a little larger than that, in the bends, and people tell me snow load. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, the snow did not take. There's not enough weight. The tree cannot. There's just not enough limbs to hold that amount of weight for that to bring that tree over and keep it that way the whole winter. It's just not going to happen. Not up here. But the immense power, when I seen that, I come up and over because I was just to the back of me. I was, this is the Long Peak area, north side. And just behind me, there was tons of activity. There was a rock on top of a stump, just lots of X structures, a couple of teepee structures. And then I came down and I was going to take off and go to my right about a mile back to the truck. And I thought, I'm going to look up on the other side of this little hill that keeps going down off that mountain. And then I came up on that right there. And then immediately down below that, there was a couple of X structures and crazy structures that were not manipulated by the wind, by snow load. They were manipulated with hands, very strong hands, not human hands. And so I snapped this picture and I said, wow, that's a green tree that's just been taken. It's just immense force. I don't even think an elephant can do that with their force, and just violently crack that. And it's funny, I always tell people the brakes are pointing towards human activity. Down below that break right there, 3 miles, there's a few houses, and then the highway's down there, about 4 miles away, probably 3 miles, 3.5 miles. So there's a few houses right towards where that's pointing. And I always try to stress that these brakes are always pointing towards human activity. And in my research, in all the years research, and that's what I've seen. Now that's the spot right there where I found that hair. A little to the right, behind the willow brush to the right, and that dead tree standing there.
Right, and this is the hair you're talking about.
That's the hair I was talking about. It's like a human hair. It's real fine. It's not coarse. It's not wiry like like a 3 pound, 2 pound fishing string, like a horse hair would be. They're real fine and small, but they're a bit wiry. This is real fine, like human hair. And maybe it was some female hair, or even some guy had long hair, but I just don't see. I don't know. It's the odds are a little out.
Now, how did you actually come about this?
Well, that picture, the previous picture, you've seen the big tree and that big root system laying up and that tree laying across.
Yep.
You see all that deadfall. I don't know if you can see how thick it is and all that deadfall. You see that one log that's going across, a little skinny log?
Yep.
You have to cross that. There's a tree on that little island. You have to cross over there, jump onto that root ball, and there's a massive tree laying across the rest of that creek. And I get across that, and then on the other side, as you can see on the other side, that's where I walk to the right. And just behind that willow brush back there, that's where I was casting out in the hole, just doing some fishing. And looked down, and there was that hair laying that was tangled up in the grass there. I picked it up, and I had to drag that hair all the way back to the truck. So
now is that a trout stream?
Yeah, it's a little trout stream. Yep.
Okay.
Nice little trout stream.
Is it stocked or native?
Oh, it's all native. Yeah,
native.
This is I want to say about 15 miles back in just nothing but woods. There's nothing out here. And the road actually ends right where I'm at right here. The road actually ends right there, and you have to walk the rest of the way up the canyon if you want to go anywhere, to go hiking or whatever. You'd have to walk that way. But so that day I did a little bit of video straight ahead of me, again, cross that log, and straight ahead of me into all that dead tree and all those standing trees and stuff. There's a ridge, and I come up and over that ridge, and there was an elk carcass, and I found a little Sasquatch nest that was obviously like stuff pushed aside with hands. a couple of fairly decent sized little logs stuffed inside a really bushy tree. I'm not sure how it would get there unless it was put there. So I got a few little evidence, a couple of wood knocks, and there was a vocal. Not sure if it was a cat or if it was Sasquatch. It was pretty damn close. And then I came back and I threw, because I wasn't intending on Sasquatch, and I was just fishing that day with my family. So I just did, I don't know, probably 20 minutes of video, and then I came back through the camcorder in the truck and grabbed my fishing pole, went on the other side over there, on the other side of that creek, and that's when I found that hair. Kind of, there's lush grass kind of overhanging into the creek. And
so did it stand out to you when you? I mean, did it just catch your eye, or?
Yeah, at first I thought it was like dark fishing line or something. I don't know. I just looked down and seen it, and then I thought, wait a minute, what? And I pulled it up, and to my surprise, it's this 2 foot, probably 2 foot, 2.5, 3 foot, probably not quite 3 foot, but probably about 2 foot hair, really long. And Sasquatch in this area there's many different spots where Sasquatch, because there's short-haired ones and whatnot, medium-haired ones, and then you got these ones that have really long hair like that, and it's got the typical characteristics as far as you hold it up to the sun, and it almost looks translucent, and it's got like a light brownish tinge to it when the light hits it right, but it looks black in your hands. So when I was bringing that hair back, I'm afraid, even if I did get a DNA test on it, it might say human because it touched me a little too much. And that's why I said the most definitive way on hair, if you've touched it too much, because like you've seen what I had to go across trying to keep a hair off of me and a fishing pole in one hand and balance across all that.
Yeah.
And so the best way, as far as this goes, is under a microscope. If that hair does not have a medulla
Yep.
in the center of it, yeah. If it's just a clear hair, no medulla, it's Sasquatch. There's nothing on the face of this planet that has hair like that.
Well, we don't have a medulla ourselves.
Yeah, we have a medulla. It's a small one. Everything on the face of this planet, fur and hair, they all have medulla. Different size medullas in them. Human hair has a small one. Sasquatch has none. And like I said, if I was to go off and get this tested, whether it actually be human or it touched me too much, I don't know. I want to get it checked out, and looked at, and tested, and see what.
All right, Zuse, I'm gonna bring up another photo here that you're taking. Let's see, that's one of you there.
That guy, I was doing a video that day. I went into a new area to research, and from where I'm looking at that Sasquatch on the right there, there's a trailhead, the Long Peak trailhead to the right of me, but back about 500 yards, and then you got to go up about a quarter of a mile, and there's the trailhead. Well, whenever I come up to trailheads, and they kind of trail up, 3 miles, whatever, however long up into an area, that Sasquatch will stay out of the trail. Maybe at nighttime they come in there, but during the day, it's either to the left of the trail where there's nobody back this way because they feel like they're being flanked, or they might even be seen. So I stay on the left-hand side, staying south of the trail. And I walked in there that day making a video, and as soon as I got across the creek, I seen the structure. I seen the structure before I crossed the creek, and I was like, "Oh my God, I got to go check this out." I think I sent you one of the pictures, and I'll tell you which one it is. But I got across the creek, and immediately when I got across the creek, I was hit with an overwhelming feeling of fear. I started shaking really bad. The hair on my arm stood up. I feel like I'm starting to panic. Like something is telling me it doesn't really want me in there. I'm getting too close. So I got up to the one structure, and I looked to the south, and I held my camera up, and you could see him peeking around that tree like that. And I said, well, shit, I got to get to the right. I got to get up to this other structure and to the point where I can even get out of here. And so as soon as I started walking to the right, and it shows on the video, that thing disappeared, almost like it was in thin air. Just took off, going southeast, and took off. And then I didn't see it anymore after that. I still felt really nervous. I documented another structure. I said on the video, I'm done here. I can't go in any further. I'm not armed. I don't know what's going on, but I got to turn around, and I'm going to have to go back to the truck and hit and go west up the ridge of Long Peak. And so that's what I did. And what's funny is when I caught him on video, I went back to the truck, and before I got back to the truck, I had a brand new battery in my camcorder, and it was completely dead. I had to get another battery. So when I went back to the truck, I got another battery. And I told my wife, I said, something's out here. I'm freaking the hell out. I said, I want you to stay here next to the truck with my puppy, with our pup. And I always have her do this, stand next to the truck. Don't make a lot of noise. Just sit there, whether it's be inside. So I folded out a little chair on the side of the truck. And she's seen Sasquatch a couple of times trail me, as she did that day again. And so I get to the truck, I get my battery, I take off, I come back around, and I head up that ridge. There's a ridge. And she said, she called me on the radio. As soon as I hit the top of that ridge, she said, honey, there's something following you. And I said, that's what I just felt like, something's following me as soon as I got to the top of that ridge. Well, apparently when I got to the top of that ridge, right in front of her, just on the other side of this little hump of dirt, and there's a tree. There's a tree on the other side of that hump, just down to where something was crouched down, and she would be able to see it. But that tree started swaying back and forth violently, like something took it and was like shaking the hell out of it. And then she seen it trail me, just the back of it, going towards me up to the ridge. And then as I get up the ridge, I walked up there about 3 miles. And on the video, you could see me keep turning around saying, something's following me. I hear it. And I would make a little bit of ground, and it would make a little bit of ground. And it would let me walk a little bit until maybe I kind of started getting out of sight. And then it would quickly catch up to me. And it kept doing that for 3 miles. And I said, okay. After the third 3.5 miles, it started getting a little louder, like he's catching up to me the further back I was getting. And I said, well, shit, I got to do something because I have no protection and something is following me. And it was no bear and it was no lion. It was on 2 feet. And it would slightly break limbs as it was moving through, whether it be its shoulder or whatever. So I said, okay, well, 200 or 300 yards, if I head north, I'm going to hit that trail that runs up Long Peak. I said, okay, well, I'm going to hit that trailhead down there. I'm going to hit that trail. I'm going to move up that trail about 50 feet and then continue north. And then I'm going to tuck back to the east and try to make it back to the truck. So that's what I did. I was really scared. And I went back to that trail. I finally found the trail, walked up 50 feet and cut back north again and cut off that trail down into the thick forest. And when I did that, it sounded like it stopped above on the other side of that trail. It never followed me again. And the weird thing is, I felt like I was manipulated somehow because I do not lose my way in the woods. I always find my way back to the truck. I will always, no matter how far back in, how thick it is, how much alike it looks in the forest, I will always come back out at the truck. And somehow, when I came down out of there, I felt a bit confused. And I had to kind of stand there and get my bearings a little bit. And on video, it sounded like I sounded a little off. And then, so I continue headed down to where I thought the truck was, and see, by that time, the road would be about 6 miles away where I was at. So somehow I went from the truck, I went west, up that ridge, headed north a little bit, and then I headed back east more, and I came back down, and I made this big circle, and I was about almost 3 miles away from the truck when I come out onto this little rock ledge. I was able to see outside the forest, and I said, holy shit, if I keep walking this way, I'm going to hit the highway another 3 miles down. And I happen to look over to the right, and I see the power lines that run along that feed those houses way down there. And I said, I'm way off course. Where the hell am I? So I cut back south, and I kind of followed the small ridge, and I just kept going through the forest like that. But then I found that power line that they had cut out of the trees, and I said, oh, okay, well, I've been here before. And then I just walked forever, a couple more miles, and finally came out at the truck. And I think they manipulated me somehow. They made me very disoriented and confused because I have never done anything like that. I've usually always come out of my truck. So that was pretty scary. But, regardless, I was going to come out on a road. If I would have hit the main highway down there, I would have known where I'm at, and I would have to radio my wife to jump in the truck and come and get me. I'm like miles away, I'm a good, 5, 6, 7 miles away. But yeah, and then so after that was done, I got with my brother-in-law, and my niece went with me. And I said, I got to go back up in there. And I said, I want you guys to come with me because it's really kind of a unnerving area. It's only my second time back there this time. So we drove up there, and I got into position, and where I was standing, looking at where the Sasquatch was standing, was no longer a black spot standing there. It was no longer, you could almost see the face on this thing, its nose and everything. And I said, okay, so I gave the camera to my niece and my brother-in-law a camera. And I said, stand right here. This is where I was standing. And I, just to get the correct angle of where I was at to take the picture. So I went up there and I positioned myself. Granted, the back end of me is a little too far out. It should have been a little further in. And I should have been standing more to the left with my head more turned to the right.
Now, how tall are you?
I'm about 6'3".
Okay. So you definitely a good probably 5 inches taller than you.
I would say, yeah, he was probably 5, 6, 7, maybe even a foot taller than me, because when I was standing there, I kind of looked up to where maybe his head would be, and it was up there a little bit.
Well, and what gets me about the pictures, you almost see red eyes. Like that's what I see. I don't know if that's actual eyes or not, but it's kind of creepy.
I don't see it right off the computer right here. Of course, I get kind of blurry up close. I know if you look, you can see a nose. You see
that may
nose
be a nose. Is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing something, some type of feature on the.
Because you can see his head. He's got hair all the way down to his eyes, like right here, and the hair comes down. And you could see what I try to tell people too. A lot of Sasquatch got what I call troll noses. Their noses look like trolls, slongs that stick out. You know what I mean? And that's what he had. And it's brown. He had like brown skin, or maybe really short brown fur all over his nose, and you could see it glistening in the sun. Yeah, you could see his nose in that one, especially just glistening in the sun. And he seemed like he may have been a thinner Squatch, because I am a big guy, and a lot of Sasquatch up here are my height, probably my same size, I'd imagine. But I think this one here was a little bit taller, probably like a basketball player, because I want to say almost a month ago there was a Sasquatch that ran in front of my house, and he looked like freaking Shaquille O'Neal running through the field, going through the light at night. And freaked me the hell out. I had to come inside and call my sister and everything. And so he kind of reminded me maybe of a basketball player kind of stature to him.
All right, right here, Zeus, I'm going to bring up some pictures of the structures.
Yeah, those structures were up at the, they call that Bear Lake area. That's just one of many structures that I found walking back in there off trail. I walked back in there a ways off the road. I don't know. This one was probably about 1.5 miles or so, and it was the only structure back there. And some people will tell me it's, oh, it's a hunt blind. It's made by humans, and I'm like, I can assure you, it's not made by humans. Just how it's constructed, humans don't make them like that. Humans make them real nice, real perfect, and they lean on each other, but they don't interweave with each other like that. They just interweave all the branches up top, and they bring them in from the side and weave them into the side. And there's a lot of action up at that Bear Creek area, and that's just one of many structures that I found up in that area. Pretty cool. And I think most of the
we got a comment here from Fimmer. We got a comment here from Fimmer of Bobcat. So even though you have seen several already, they still freak you out when you see them?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's almost like when I'm out in the woods, I've seen thousands and thousands of bears, man. I've seen tons of bears. Being a country boy living in the woods my whole life, even if I see a bear to this day out in the woods, I still get a little freaked out. It does startle me. It does scare me a little bit, but quickly calm down. Sasquatch is a different story. Sasquatch, they can release what they call infrasound, and they can manipulate you like a tiger does infrasound and manipulates its prey, and they can make you feel very scared. And it just doesn't seem like how many times I've seen Sasquatch, my heart will always fall out of my chest every time. And second of all, I know a lot about them. I got theories about them, but I don't definitively know like I would a bear or a moose, because
you don't know exactly what their behavior is going to act like.
Yeah, they may be all right now, but the moment I walk away and I maybe accidentally hit a stick on a tree and he found that offensive and he's going to come kick my ass, I don't know, but I know what a bear is going to do, and I know what a moose is going to do. I just don't know what a Sasquatch is going to do. 98% of the time, they don't do nothing but look at you and maybe throw a rock at you every now and then. But
yeah, but there's that one moment and that they could turn on you, and you'd end up looking like that tree that I showed there a few minutes ago.
Yeah, that is no lie, because we don't know nothing about them. Yeah, they may be cool and collective, maybe checking you out.
It's the element of surprise as well. Even though you're out in the field and you're putting yourself out there, you're never truly expecting to see one.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what happens every time. It's not like I walk up and he's standing behind a tree and he reaches out and waves at me and says, "Hey man, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?
You didn't have a meeting at 2:30.
Yeah. Like, hey, you mind if I get some pictures with you, a couple selfies? But this structure right here, up to the right, I was standing in front of that structure, which this structure right here was really solidly built, and most of those trees are butt-in trees are sticking up there. And that reminded me.
That right there in itself is pretty compelling. Because one, why, structures, of course, you always have the chance of it being, humans involved in the building or whatever. But like this, why would humans do that? And those are some pretty big trees as well.
Yeah, they're pretty all right size. I have a theory about this later on when I got to thinking about it, where this wall is like sitting, because like I said, I was in front of the structure there, looking kind of up west, and that's where I seen that Sasquatch peeking at me. But this wall is right next to a creek, So what I'm thinking, this wall is to cut off game while one flanks from the right, one's chasing from the back, bringing them down, and they get flanked right there. And that deer or elk don't have much place to go right there. He just got stopped by that wall, and he's being flanked from the right and flanked from the back. You're dead meat. So that's kind of what I was thinking when I seen that. But yeah, otherwise that structure right there, that's a pretty. Yeah, that's the front part of that structure right there.
So
and see the creek right behind you?
Right.
That's only 15 foot away. That creek from the edge of that structure. It looks further than that, but it's not. It's about 15 foot away.
So basically, anything being run up that draw, they're going to run right straight into that wall.
Yeah, it's going to be a deterrent. It's going to the game is going to see that and going to want to try to flank to the right. Doesn't want to go to the left because of that creek. So immediately, naturally, it's going to want to go to the right. Then it gets flanked by another Sasquatch coming from the right. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh,
you're right.
This is the fake fireplace.
This is one. Go ahead, Zuse.
I said this is a little fake fireplace. They'd actually built a circle stone and threw a bunch of branches in it and some dry needles in there from the pine trees. And this was underneath the structure that was over. It's below Cone Mountain, I want to say. And that was a couple mile walk back in there when I found that underneath the structure. And right behind that was a stack of rocks with this little branch balancing perfectly off of another twig on a rock. Like that right there. See that? It's balancing perfectly on that rock with the back end sticking way out. Just balancing. And in the background, you can see the mini fireplace. So I thought that was really...
Definitely really odd.
That is odd. Yep. Very odd.
Nicely balanced rocks with that twig, that little branch right there is placed on there, and I didn't want to touch it because it was just barely hanging on. If I would have touched it, it would have fell off. And then, I would have turned up like that tree.
Right.
So with that, just a little theory on that. That was pretty recent from when you found it. Because if they were any wind coming through there, you're saying how perfectly balanced it was. I mean, anything would have probably knocked that over.
Yeah, it was sitting in a nice teepee structure. And where it was sitting low, if that makes sense. So if I was to head west from that structure, I would get the wind coming up out of that canyon. And it shoots kind of straight up, and I guess it would just shoot straight up and over that, and then come down.
It's pretty solitary from any wind.
Yeah, it's kind of goes down. It's kind of a cozy little area that goes down in there.
Okay.
And then being blocked by the structure itself, breaking any kind of strong wind, I assume.
Yeah.
So that footprint was 15, 20 feet, give or take, from that big tree break that's been twisted and snapped over, big fresh green tree that's been snapped. And that right there, you kind of seen some toes in that.
Yeah, you can see toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually see the toe imprints.
Yeah.
How big would you say that print was?
So I'm wearing a size 12 and 14. Maybe 13 and a half, 14, give or take.
Which would match the size of the photo you had, the one in the photo. I mean, you're looking anywhere from about 6 inches taller than you. I mean, which that would be about right foot size. I mean,
Yeah, and this spot where this footprint is and that break is, to the south, 2.5 miles, maybe 3, give or take. That's where I got the photo, the comparison photo and everything.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what.
It's all in the same area.
Yeah, directly across. If I was to walk straight across, I would come out in the same area. And in that footprint, you can see it's a lot wider than my foot. And
that's what I started to comment on, the width of the footprint.
Definitely the width. Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at a good 3 or 4 inches wider than.
Yeah, than what your foot is.
Exactly. Because see that little white thing that's kind of long towards the top in the middle of the foot there?
Right.
My foot would be from that edge, just to the south, to the edge of that white speck that kind of comes up.
Yeah.
That's how wide my foot would be. And not as long. Not as long at all.
So you're looking at least 1.5 of your feet wide.
Yeah, I would say probably a foot and a half, or not a foot and a half, 1 of my feet and a half wide. Yeah. And then behind that footprint, I didn't take a picture of it. It wasn't as good as that one, but there was another impression, the same size as that. That one was better though, and it was about 4 feet away, directly behind that. It wasn't staggered like this. They were lined up like this, about 4 foot apart, and that is pointing right at the break, like it was walking down towards that break. Hell, it might have even broke it that day or the day before or 2 days before, walking right down towards that tree. And then, like I said, below that tree, there was all kinds of crazy structures. But the big break was like, hello, there, we're over here, obviously, because, man, that was a violent break. But, yeah, he kind of even slid the inside of his foot, maybe where the arch would be, even though sometimes I guess they really don't have an arch. They're kind of flat-footed. He slid it on that rock a little bit there, which is cool.
Hey, Ricky, I'm going to have to jump off here.
Okay, Blake.
Sorry to cut it short, but I stayed a little bit longer than I'd planned.
All right, Blake. Well, it was really good seeing you.
Thank you as always, brother.
And we will be seeing you later.
Hi, buddy. I'll see you later, Ricky.
Okay, Blake. Appreciate it, buddy.
Good night, guys.
You too, bud. Be careful.
All right, brother.
Well, Zuse, you've really shown some very compelling evidence tonight, man. I've really enjoyed the photos you sent us. This one here, where was this taken at?
Oh, that one was up at a hermit area, and around where I'm facing right now, if you go about 3 miles, give or take, maybe even 4, there's a little campground out there, and so I traveled around on the road, and I'm about 1.5 miles in. I want to say about 1.5 miles in, and there wasn't a lot of. It was real thick forest and some rock and just real thick stuff. But I kept noticing subtle little pieces of evidence that they were there. So things that they would do, because I became really good at what they do out there. Whether it be they just stick a little tree inside of another tree, laying vertical. But I came across this, where that is the top of a large tree, and that piece of wood that's forked off, that's not from there. That's an older tree that's been stuffed on the ground, and that old tree was pushed up, and that was forked in there, and they sat that tree on there. And to me, I got the impression they were going to make one of those little half, almost like, I guess, a shelter type thing, where it's got a half a roof or it's got a roof on both sides.
Right.
There's a bunch of lumber behind that picture, a bunch of long logs that are not from any of those trees there. They're drug in from somewhere else. So it's like they put that up on the fork, getting ready to make something, and then for some reason they just decided they're going to stop and then go somewhere else and never finished it.
And all these photos, how far are these actually from where you live, Zeus?
If where I'm standing now, if I was to turn directly around and face west, I'm directly over Kruger Mountain, which is quite a ways. You go straight up and over Kruger, come straight down, come into a little valley, and I'd be right there. But I want to say that's probably a 13-mile drive out to this location, going clear up around the mountain and to the back side of it, because you got to climb an elevation quite a bit and come up to the back side of it. But that mountain, Kruger Mountain, the one that I tell you about, if I look east, I'm looking at that mountain, which from here it would be west. That's where every night you can hear Sasquatch whooping and calling and screaming from that mountain, Twin Sisters area, and Big Track Mountain area. And it's just that whole general area. There's just a lot of vocals, and I've seen quite a bit of evidence. Not in this area. It's really kind of weird because I've only seen one huge structure there, but there's not much in the way of structures. They like to do subtle things like this. You'd be walking along, and if you didn't know any better and you didn't know anything about how to track Sasquatch or how their behavior is, you would walk right by this and not even realize that was made by a Sasquatch. There's no other explanation for that right there.
Well, I know Blake and I have done a lot of investigations here in North Georgia, South Georgia, up in the Tennessee area, and we've run across a lot of structures that Sasquatch does make in this area, especially over on the Blue Ridge area, which is about probably 30 miles from where we're located. But man, I'm telling you, these that you've shown here tonight in these photos, they're awesome, and especially the tree break. I know that I've been doing this for the past 40 years, and dude, as far as having a very close-up, face-to-face encounter with one of these creatures, I would not want to put myself in that position.
Not until we can understand them, and a lot. I know they're on the spiritual side. I know that they're extremely intelligent, but they have emotions. They know how to manipulate. They're not a bad creature at all, but it's just like anybody else. They could be a great one day, and then shit, man, the greatest guy in the world, never harm a fly. Suddenly, he loses his mind for some reason and shoots up half the town. Just never know. I know that they're friendly, and I know that they're very intelligent. I know they're on the spiritual side. I've seen crazy things, but you just don't know definitively enough to, if you get close to them, how that encounter is going to be when you're only arm length away, kind of thing. They have a length. They have a length.
We got a few comments here. Got one from Praying and Squatching, Mr. Barry Patterson, or Robertson, I'm sorry. Barry writes, what I wonder is why they sometimes use infrasound and sometimes they don't. Just like the smell, it's a 50-50 chance to experience it. What's your thoughts on that, Zeus?
I think mostly with the infrasound thing, when they feel really threatened by you, like I said, they know what kind of a person you are. If you're a bad person and if you've not done many bad things in your life, if you kind of have a shitty intention going out there, if you kind of have that aura about you that you may have a smile, but when they feel maybe that there's something not good with you, and even though, because I'm a really good guy, I don't I mean, ever since, years ago, I used to be a little troublemaker when I was a kid. I mean, I used to party and tap myself up, but it wasn't nothing serious. I was a troublemaker. I was in and out of jail. But my intentions when I go out there are great. You got to have a good heart. But when you go out there and they feel threatened by you, I think they start throwing that infrasound at you. They make you sick. They make you scared, like you want to leave. They just kind of don't want you there because they don't really trust you right now. And see that the last spot where I got the Sasquatch on video. If I go there a couple of more times, maybe even when I go there a third time, I probably won't get this frightened feeling like I did. I probably wouldn't be scared out of my mind because they're not portraying to me that they don't want me there. They see that I went there and my intentions are good. They got to read you, and they see that you're a good person. They're going to stop throwing things like that at you. You know what I mean? And sometimes I don't know, maybe I caught them on a bad day. Maybe they're having a family feud and I was interrupting. And they didn't want me to be there. Who knows? But I know most of the time.
Filmer of Bobcats is asking you, are you saying they can read minds?
No, it's not reading minds. It's like when you walk up to a dog, and if that dog doesn't like you or senses something about you, or another person, if you're in the house and your dog is really nice and very good to every other person that walks through your house or that it sees, and it comes across a person it just is absolutely hates. He wants to bite him, and you're like pulling on the leash like he's never done that before. It's because
right. And I experienced that here at my house. This past week, we had a guy that is actually one of my neighbors. He might come up here to the house maybe once every 6 months or so. But I have a little Chweenie here. Mr. Dollar is his name. Dollar is friendly with everyone, loves everybody. But Doug came in. Just as soon as Doug come through the door, the dog went ballistic the whole time Doug was here. He was here probably 15, 20 minutes, and the dog just went ballistic on him the whole time he was here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know where you're coming from on that.
And I'm not saying that Sasquatch read minds. Of every animal out there does such a thing. Horses, if they come across somebody that they don't feel right about, it's just an intuition. Dogs and animals, even you have intuitions. You can walk up to a person and immediately kind of tell that individual is not what's cracked up to be. It's not mind reading or anything. It's just you feel something not right about that situation. It's just an intuition. I guess you would say an intuition. But the infrasound thing is a very real thing. Tigers use it all the time. Caribou can see infrared off those game cameras. Sasquatch, I'm pretty positive they do the same thing. Because every time I could go into an area, have lots of activity, and the moment I stick a game camera up, it flatlines. And it may flatline for the rest of the year until next year. I may go in there, take down my camera after it being there a couple of weeks. I will have not a single bit of action after that. Not a wood knock, not a whistle, not a stomp, not a rock clack, not a vocal, not even a feeling. Flatline. And then sometimes 2 months later, they start coming back around. But I think they see the infrared or whatever you call that coming off that camera. And caribou, recently known that they can do that. They could see stuff like that. So there's many different things about the Sasquatch that we don't know. I don't say it's definitively how it is, and that's what they do. Through my experience being in the woods for all my life and researching Sasquatch for 30 years and having many, 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 many encounters, I'm a very smart individual. I catch on to things and I catch on to patterns. And I've just noticed a lot of things about Sasquatch and what they do and where, and I try to figure out where they sit, how they move, winter migrations. I know they move out for the winter. They have winter grounds. They'll walk they'll walk 50 to 100 miles into an area that they're good for the winter, and then they'll move back in for the summer to their summer area. And it's just little things, lots of things, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning so much about these creatures, and yeah, it's pretty cool experience. And like I said, I just keep learning more and more and more about them. As far as tracking them.
Femmer Bobcat is asking you another question. Any ideas on what causes the red eye shine glow of Sasquatches?
I've got a theory about that. Of course, I don't know definitively. Nobody does. But I feel like when they got that red eye shine, it's almost like how our night vision works. They can see in the dark like that. And that maybe when their eyes shine that spectrum of red, because like a firebug shines a light. And to that firebug, he's shining a light as maybe a defense or however they work. He's changing the light spectrum at night to be seen. A Sasquatch is their eyes change like that. I think is because, especially at night, in the daytime, I've seen their eyes look like they're glowing white, and I've actually got that on video. But at nighttime, I've seen that red eye shine, and I figure maybe it's their way of seeing in the dark, seeing everything out there crystal clear by using some type of infrared light to change the light spectrum at night so they can see everything out there. And they do that during the day. I think they change the spectrum, a light spectrum during the daytime to actually see maybe more detail, maybe see you better. I don't know, but in the daytime, I've seen white eye shine in the daytime. So it's all up in the air. I mean, nobody definitively knows until, you can walk up to a Sasquatch and say, "Why do your eyes glow red at night, dude? What's up with that?"
Right.
Which one day
I've seen many wild creatures at night. I've saw black panthers in this area, bear, hog, and most of them that I've saw gives off a greenish to a yellowish glow when you hit them with the lights.
Yeah.
But Sasquatch, I have seen eye shines that do have the red shine to them. So.
And even though it's nighttime, and it may be so pitch black that you cannot see with your own eyes, it's pitch black, there are certain levels of light spectrum inside that black, inside that dark. And if you are, if you're like a Sasquatch and you're able to manipulate those light spectrums at night with a certain, whatever they do with their eyes, you could see everything out there. You know what I mean? So
right.
maybe that's how they do it. I mean, that's just kind of my little theory on it. Maybe one day I could be right, and one day I could be wrong. I would love to learn more of the truth on it, but to me, it kind of makes sense, manipulating that light spectrum. But it's never truly dark. There's always some kind of light, whether we see it or not. It's just tuning in and manipulating that to be able to see around you.
I've got a cat going crazy here, folks. Well, Zeus, buddy, we've hit the hour mark here. I'd like to thank everyone. Thank Zeus most of all for coming on the show tonight. I'd like to thank all the guests, all the interaction we've had with them tonight. I'm sorry I didn't get to read all your comments. We really had what I feel to be a really good show tonight. Zeus, we've really enjoyed you, buddy, being on the show, the evidence that you brought forth. Looking forward to getting with you again, bud.
Can I say something about that picture right there?
What's that?
that I believe when they do something like that, that's when they take a small tree and turn it upside down like that. Okay,
Right,
remember those two teepee structures that were in the water about 2 foot deep? Remember that?
right.
Just south of that, uh, 80, 60 to 80 yards, that was right there on a path where I felt that's where they travel down, and then they take a left and head east back into no man's land, back there into the woods. And that right there, I felt like that stay out of this area kind of thing. I could be wrong, but that's what I feel like. And I don't see a lot of that, an entire tree, whatever size it may be, that's stuck in the ground about 8 inches in the tip.
All right, now Zeus, actually, Blake and I have pictures of one where they uprooted the whole tree. It was a tree probably maybe 3 to 4 foot, 3 to 4 foot longer than this one that's in the picture. Probably, I'm going to say 6, 8 inches bigger in diameter, but the whole tree with the root ball had been pulled up, turned upside down, and stuck in the ground like this.
That
So yeah, we have encountered that.
that's a rare. What you seen, that's rare.
Right.
That is a very significant sign. Who knows what it means? I get the feeling it's a very serious sign. It's very rare because I don't come across this kind of thing being small and the root ball's been snapped off. I I don't hardly ever see that at all. Let alone what you've seen with the bigger tree and the whole root ball stuck
Yeah,
straight
the
up.
whole root ball system was still attached to the tree. You could tell they had just yanked this tree completely up out of the ground. And now let me get this: the area where we found this, we searched the area out for a good 200 yards diameter around it and could not find where the tree had been uprooted. The tree had actually been uprooted, toted to that area, and shoved back down in the ground with the whole root ball system still attached to it.
And what's really spectacular about that, a tree that big, like what you've seen with the root ball, it's not like they laid the tree down, dug it out, put it in there while one holds it, one covers it up and smashes it, packs the dirt down. It's straight up raw power, just driven straight down in hydraulic power, just driven straight down into the ground. Am
That's
I
right.
right?
I mean that is the whole thing to this show tonight is is all about the power that
Yeah.
these creatures actually possess.
And
And
it's
I've
insane.
talked to people that tell me that they go out that they think these things are just dumb animals, just dumb apes out here running around in the woods. They think they can go out here and just basically walk up on one of these things and bully it around. Well, I'm going to tell you from what I saw in that photo you sent me tonight, what I've actually personally experienced out of these things with the tree that Blake and I found that was turned upside down with the root balls still attached to it and shoved down in the ground, like this one right here in this picture. These are not dumb animals. They do this for a reason. They do this, I think, marking their territories, showing and to actually show the strength that they possess, what they could actually do to a human being if they were pissed off. You know, man, they could tear you into a million little pieces if they wanted to.
Have you ever taken a log of hamburger and just went like that?
Right,
You're the hamburger. I'm the Sasquatch. Just
right.
done.
That's
And
exactly what they could do.
it's just like this military man said that they were doing exercises in Washington because they go different areas, different landscapes, and do military exercises. The officer, the leading officer, whatever they would call him, I don't know military term, told his group, okay, they're going to do their exercises out there. He said, you come across a creature known as, you all know as Sasquatch, absolutely don't engage it. It will not end well.
We got, hey, I've actually had military guys here in Georgia that do maneuvers up on the Blue Ridge WMA. They do them once every couple of months up there. They actually have a handbook that tells them the same thing you just said, Zeus.
Yeah.
If you have an encounter with Sasquatch, not to engage.
Yep, because they will
Because
basically
it's not gonna end well for you.
lights out
That's
for
exactly
everybody.
right.
Yeah, I don't care how many guns you got. They're that good, and they're that stealthy, and they're that strong. I mean, they could probably throw a 100-pound boulder 100 yards at you and smack you right in the dome and take your head clean off.
Well, dude, Blake and I were at the cemetery in 2011 down in Bartow County, Georgia, about 20 miles from here. We were down there doing paranormal investigations. It was the first night that we'd ever encountered Sasquatch there at the lake. Where we were at the old rural cemetery, we were out about midway of the cemetery. We were up this old grave where they had actually taken the rock and stacked it up on the grave, above the grave, about 3 foot off the ground, covered the entire length of the grave. We were standing there doing paranormal investigation. All of a sudden, the tree line now was like 60 yards over from where we were at, to the side of the cemetery. Dude, there was a rock that would have weighed every bit of 15 pounds come hurtling through the treetop, down through, you could hear it hit the limbs, come down and hit within 3 to 4 foot of us. And not just one, but about 5 to 6 big rocks like that were thrown from 60 yards through that treetop. Now, the tree was probably 50 foot tall. They came down through the treetop and came down and landed within 3 to 4 foot of us. And every time a rock hit, it hit about 2 foot from the other. Just basically in a straight row that these rocks landed like that. And these rocks, every one of them, would have weighed about 15 pounds. There is no doubt in my mind if whatever done that, if it was a Sasquatch that did this, that those things could have taken any of us out at any moment that they'd wanted to.
Exactly. They're very accurate, and if they wanted to take you out, they could have did it easy. They know.
Dude, could you imagine if one of them standing there with a softball-sized rock, and hurtled that and threw that thing directly at us? It would have knocked their head off. At the speed that these things have, the strength they have, yeah, they could have tore our heads, slap off our shoulder if they'd been wanting to kill us. I think that was a warning to us that we were in its area and it didn't want us there.
Yeah, that's usually what they do. When they don't want you there, they don't want to hurt you, they don't want to kill you, they don't want to do anything, but they want to scare you. So they throw rocks on either side of you. They'll take little rocks and tag you in the head with them. That's happened to me. Tagged in the head with the rock. It don't hurt at all, but dink, you feel this little rock hit you in the head. And you're like, what the hell? You're looking up and around, Next thing you know, another one hits you in the back of the head. They take little tiny rocks and throw them and tag you in your head or your back. Sometimes they'll hit you in the chest. They don't hurt.
To tell you, to give you an example of the intelligence of these creatures, I was speaking with, I interviewed a guy here a few years ago that was telling me that he used to go into a camping area up on the up in Tennessee and National Forest. He had to park his vehicle in a parking area, walk about a mile into where he camped at. Said this happened to him like 4 or 5 Friday nights in a row. He went in, pitched his camp, and along about 10, 11 o'clock at night, these little pebbles would start hitting his tent. And this happened to him basically every Friday night when he'd go up there. He would hike in, get set up, 10:30, 11 o'clock like clockwork. These pebbles would start hitting his tent. So he decided one day, he said he went to Walmart and bought him a bucket of tennis balls. Took those things back up there. Went in that Friday night. Same thing about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Here the pebbles come raining down on his tent. Well, he got out there and started throwing these tennis balls up into the woods, and he said you could actually hear these things chasing through the woods after these tennis balls. Well, he said, I sat there and got a good laugh out of it. He said, I thought it was just a bunch of dumb apes up there. But what really got him was the next morning, he said, when he got ready to leave, he went back down to the vehicle. Now, multiple vehicles parked in his parking area, but all these tennis balls he had thrown the night before were lined up across the hood of his vehicle. Not anyone else's, his vehicle.
They knew he was driving that vehicle. They knew it was his, and they were just basically saying, we know.
Basically, yeah.
We know you did this, and we know this belongs to you. We know you drove this vehicle. That's what they're saying.
So now you tell me, if they were a bunch of dumb apes running around, how would they possess the intelligence to know that man to go down there and pick his vehicle out of all the other vehicles parked in that parking area and place those tennis balls back on that? And he said every one of them that he had thrown that night was placed back across the hood of his car.
Oh, that's amazing. They're so smart, beyond what we conceive. Very smart. It's amazing.
So, these creatures possess intelligence far beyond ours, especially being able to survive in the element they survive in.
Exactly.
Because they survive. Look, for instance, in Colorado where you're at, dude. Y'all get 8-10 foot snows in the wintertime in those mountains up there, but yet they thrive in those mountains.
Yeah.
They live, they raise their young.
And not a lot of vegetation. There's really
Right.
not vegetation up there, up in these mountains. You've seen the pictures. There's just, like in Georgia, you got a lot of berries. You got really thick vegetation, thick green. That picture I showed you where I found the hair, that's about as thick as you're going to see it. And there was zero berries. No berries anywhere. It's just really thick blade grass and dead fallen trees. I always wondered that. I said, well, God, they got to be tired of eating deer and elk and moose all the time. They've got to get. I know they eat aspen leaves, and I know they eat pine needles, but there's got to be other things as far as eating greenery type stuff, besides just that, because it's so high up here that there's not a lot of vegetation that thrives up in this area. Plus, it gets pretty dry up here. There's just not a lot of rainfall. There's not a lot of water. Like, we're burning up again. There's another fire out here somewhere that's filled full of smoke out here today again. So it's really strange. I would love to know more about how they eat.
Mary Fred and Squatching says still a lot of food to be found underground, which of course these creatures do.
Mm-hmm.
And they have in this area. We found areas where they've actually pulled up roots and found root shavings where they've actually eat these things.
Yeah.
Or just bits and pieces off roots. So these animals do. That's what I'm saying. They know how to live in the environment where they're located.
Yeah, I've seen that too, but I've seen that not here. There's nothing that maybe the grass, maybe some bushes. I don't know, but I haven't seen all the miles and miles I've covered around here. I haven't seen them uproot things and eat them. I have seen them get in and get grubs in areas where rotten wood is. I've seen them do that. I've seen an area where they have actually torn apart a stump or something, and they're sitting right there in front of the stump, and it looks like a big individual was sitting there, and the stump is torn apart, and they're eating ants and eating stuff, bugs. But as far as the vegetation, there's just no vegetation. There's nothing, not much up here at all. And there's never nothing. And the floor, and when you go out in the forest, you could dig a foot down into the floor, and it's nothing but pine needle bedding. Rotten. It just gets rotten. There's no mushrooms. I still haven't seen any mushrooms up in this area. And same goes down in some of my other spots in Colorado on down. It's just, you don't see any mushrooms. And I know they eat some types of mushrooms. And there's just not a lot of vegetation type stuff to eat up here.
Whereas, and that goes, whereas here in North Georgia, uh, our mountains are flourished with all types of different types of berries,
Yeah,
greenery. We have abundance of deer in this area. We have abundance of small creatures, rabbits, squirrels, anything of that. Possums, anything of that nature, coons. Uh, we have it all out here. And whereas in your area, y'all have the larger game, uh, elk and all that for them to feed on.
yeah.
So
There's a lot of wildlife around here. A lot of
right,
wildlife. And it's nothing for elk and deer to eat here. They eat the bark off the aspen trees. They eat aspen tree leaves. They eat the vegetation that are on some of the bushes, uh, but and some grasses. And there's some kind of like a little juniper. There's some kind of like a little juniper that's real low to the ground that you'll find a lot of out here, and I think they eat on that. So yeah, not a lot of vegetation, but there ain't no shortage of game.
right. Well, and also the fish, the fish y'all have in that area, man.
Yeah,
Y'all have an abundant fishery in that area out there. So there's plenty of fish for them to feed on. Uh,
yeah. There's a lot of little creeks and stuff that run down out of the little sections and crevices into these mountains back here. So it's not really a big problem for them to find water, and there's going to be fish, little brookies and stuff in these little rivers. So as
one
far
one
as a
thing
meat,
that one thing that I found that they love to feed on in this area is and I don't know how abundant they are out there, but uh, wild geese in this area seems to be one of their delicacies. Man, they love wild geese. I found wild geese all over the mountains up here where they've killed them and eat them. So
you don't really see any geese. When you do, they're Canadian geese, and they go
right,
by. They fly by. You don't ever see them land. Every now and then, you might see a couple up here at Mary's Lake, maybe the lake downtown. Here in town, a couple of small ponds and private property, um, even ducks. But you don't really see much in the way of geese and ducks at all. I mean, I've seen a few ducks up there at Lily Lake up there. It's a good spot for squatching, but they're kind of they're I think they're always there. Uh, they get fed a lot from the tourists that go to the lake and people that go to the lake because they'll come right up to you. But and that's it. You don't ever see, if you do, like I said, if you see geese, they're saying bye bye and they're going straight down south, or they're going. They
they're
don't
coming to our
stop.
neck of the woods.
Yeah, they don't stop in this area. They're like, hell with that, man.
Well,
There's
hey
so much
man,
more.
that's something we have in this area. We have abundance of small lakes, farm ponds, things of that nature, and uh, during the summer, the geese cover this area up. So that's something that we have that they eat. And I'll tell you something else. A lot of that I think that a lot of the things actually eat in this area is small pets. Because I've talked to numerous homeowners throughout Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee that are all time, especially the ones that live in the backwoods and all. They're all time complaining about their pets coming up missing.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think
That,
matter of fact, I'd like to have one in my backyard to feed about 10 cats too.
yeah, you don't hear anything about pets going missing here. If they do go missing, it's because of a lion came into town and maybe attacked a dog, took a dog or something. You don't really hear about Sasquatch to my knowledge, at all eating the pets around here. I've heard a lot of it down in your neck of the woods, though, the eastern United States area. A lot of Sasquatch. They love eating dogs. Not here, though.
This area out here, man, I'm telling you what, and that's what I really like about especially talking with you and other people from out in the western states, on out into California, and just get a diversity of what these creatures, what their habits are actually, or what the habits actually are. Feeding habits, bedding habits, mating habits, birth area habits. Uh, that's what keeps us going. Is knowledge, sharing knowledge between
Yep.
one another.
Yep. It's all in the pursuit to understand more about these creatures that are so unknown, and I believe that are very ancient beings that we don't even know a tiny bit about. It's just
I'd like to tell Burry here, good night. He just commented he's tapping out for the night. He's got to work tomorrow. Burry, good night, man. Glad to have you on the show tonight. Glad to have everyone that we've had. Good night to everybody, and thank all aliens for joining the show. Now, Zeus, what were you saying, buddy?
um gosh, I don't know. I slipped my mind. It slipped my mind. I've got a lot going on in here. Um, yeah, it's just what. Oh, I know what I was saying. It's just we don't know these such mysterious beings. Um, I believe they're ancient beings because they've been on hieroglyphs. They even found an Egyptian hieroglyph, what they think is a Sasquatch on the hieroglyph on their writing, and it blew my mind when I seen that. I said, "Are you kidding me? In Egypt?" So that tells me the Egyptians ventured off into areas that these creatures inhabit. I think they're a very ancient being, and I don't know if I know the government knows a lot about them. They have bodies. Of course, they ain't going to tell us nothing. But as far as us going out and trying to figure out and trying to learn more about these beings and interact with them and understand their culture, because I know they have a culture, they have a language. You have a language, you have a culture, and all these structures, everything all means something. These structures remind me something the ancient beings would do way back in the day to mark territories, warnings, symbolism to others, symbolism, the good gaming area, good water area, danger this way, we're this way. It all means something like that. And they're just such an ancient being that we haven't even remotely learned about yet. We have theories, but nobody's a Sasquatch expert. They're just not. I mean, if I was a Sasquatch expert, I would know absolutely everything about them, and I'd be taking selfies with them. I could go out here right now and take a picture of a bear because I know a lot about them. I could go out tonight and find a bear within the hour and take a picture of that bear. I know how to track them. I know where they go. I know how they are. A Sasquatch, if I knew everything about a Sasquatch, I'd done have a selfie with the Sasquatch right now. We have theories, and that's just about it. And we're all in this game together in this research for the pursuit of more knowledge to understand this ancient being's ways. And I think if we were able to sit down and ever talk to one of these things, they would blow our minds with what they would
Oh,
have.
my sentiments exactly. All right, Zeus, I'm going to end our show. Thanks for being on the show tonight, man. Looking forward to having you back again. You get any more evidence that you'd like to share with the folks, just hit me up, and we'd be glad to have you back on, that you share your evidence. Tell everybody what you found out there. Bud, keep up the good work. Keep squatching. Everybody, Rick Weaver, Northwest Georgia Cryptics. We want to again apologize for Blake having to cut out a little early on us tonight, but it's been a pleasure having you, Zeus. And remember, everyone, uh, go to Zeus's channel, show him some love, uh, get on there, Western Slope Bigfoot, and be a member. Join his group, and keep watching us. We strive each week to bring new talent on to keep it going and keep the research rolling. Uh, everybody, Zeus, good night. Everybody that's tuned in tonight, everybody that's tuned in the future, remember, hit that subscribe button, that like button, show YouTube you like us. Good night, everybody.
Good night. We'll see you.